week, such as Friday.
Oh, sorry, I'm
Or
just recording the video, if you don't mind.
no worries, no worries. Such as Friday evening. But on a weekday, say 3 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, they'll be relatively empty. And during those times, the small restaurant and the restaurant owners would feel fine in, perhaps reducing their prices a bit and getting more customers because they have all those fixed overheads. They have the rent, they have the electricity. Even if you say they have hourly waged workers in the front end, the back end kitchen staff, the chef and everyone, usually you'd see is a salary based. So they have a lot of fixed costs, and they
Yeah.
would rather make 80 cents on a dollar rather than 0 cents, right?
Yes,
So
right.
we started going and talking to them, and obviously, while this app targets everyone, we have preliminary focus we have on students, because as you know, students have an increased price sensitivity and a greater willingness to eat during odd hours between classes, whereas someone from mid to high level management may not have that flexibility. So that's why we decided to target students as a primary audience. And I mean, we started this in January. Over the summer, we increased our restaurant pool to around 50 restaurants now. We got third-party funding along the way. Our app, which I'll leave to Rick to explain further in a minute, is excellent. It has generative AI components in a chat box that, gives you customized suggestions on what to eat. I think that's a pioneering aspect in the discount app industry, and no such app, even the big giants like DoorDash and Uber Eats have this. So yeah, so that's, I think, something truly unique which we have. Over the last few days since we launched on the 5th of September, we've already garnered over 300 downloads and considerable social media traction, which just shows how much the market was deprived of this because of the high prices, one tends to see in restaurants across Toronto and across Canada.
I see there is a great potential in the industry, but also because you just started the company, I just wondering what are the most significant business development challenges your company is currently facing?
Right. Before I go into that, I'll let Rick add a bit to the technical aspects, which he's been working on, both the tech, the drawbacks and the problems he's faced, and also the progress we've made throughout this point. Rick?
Hi. So in terms of the tech, we don't have much issue. In a sense, there's no issue at the moment that we cannot solve, but we have constant feedback from customers and even from our executives on how to improve the UIs, or if there is any issue, we have to fix them. So at the moment, we don't have a huge challenge. But if we want to scale the company and adapt to the mass population, we have to change the architecture of our app and the whole system. And in that sense, we will face some challenges once we start scaling ourselves into a big company like Uber Eats and DoorDash. And in terms of the uniqueness of the technology, it's quite obvious from computer science background people that we are not really doing some innovation in terms of technology. But what we are doing mostly is the innovation for service. In terms of service, we are doing a huge innovation for the Canada. But in terms of tech, we don't have huge innovation, and this is true for many companies. None of the companies have like huge innovation except for maybe Apple or Microsoft or IBM, who created the foundation of the current industry. So even if we look at Uber Eats or DoorDash, they don't have like sophisticated technologies that we don't have, we cannot achieve. but it just they have like better architecture of the system infrastructure they developed over the years. So I guess that's the perspective from tech. And to be honest, there's no like conclusion at the moment because like it's
still in progress.
changing. Yeah, we're gonna keep changing and adapting ourselves to the new business trend and people's trend.
Okay, thank you for sharing. And also, like, what about the strategic side of the development issues?
Right. So from the strategic side, we faced three main challenges. The first challenge we faced was how do we get restaurants? When we started going to restaurants, we started going door to door, we started cold emailing, nothing seemed to work. The restaurants we went to in person were reluctant because the owners were never there. No matter what time you went, the managers were never there. If they didn't give the personal numbers or the personal contacts of the owners and managers due to privacy reasons, so they said just email the whatever the restaurant email. We did multiple times with no response. Then what we decided was, look, we're going to start off by looking at smaller restaurants. Those smaller restaurants too that perhaps offer Uber Eats discounts or some other kind of discounts that may not be completely new to the idea. While our discounts will be bigger and will be better, at least they fundamentally agree that discounts do help. Most of the people, perhaps due to a lack of exposure, did think that discounts means bad because discounts mean losses, which isn't entirely the case. And so we went to these select restaurants and we got successful there. We got those restaurants on board, and then it was kind of a snowball effect in getting more restaurants. Having said that, for the most part, we have been going door to door till now because we're still not big enough in terms of our brand awareness and brand reach in the restaurant community that restaurants come to us. We've got the tech side enabled, the infrastructure that they can sign up themselves if they choose to, and we have had a few instances when they have done that. But on the most part, we have to make the first move and initiate that because we are, as I said, we are only 7-8 months old in the industry and only less than 4 months old when it comes to actually restaurant acquisition. So we are a very new player in the block, so it'll take some time to get that authenticity in the market. The second issue we faced was, which is quite recent, on how to get customers. We had decided that we'll launch in September because that's when students come back to campus. And although we had an app ready by May, we wanted to wait till students actually come back. So we started devising ways, whether it was social media marketing, whether it was in-person marketing, what would work. We didn't know. We looked at academic papers, we did our research, but I mean, research is as good as what one would find online. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. So we decided to experiment with a lot of things. We were lucky that our investors were supportive and they gave us enough of a cash runway to experiment in the different aspects. Our conversion rate tended to be greater in-person marketing than social media marketing, mainly because that's where we had the edge. That big companies with bigger budgets didn't, because we had that access to the student body, being students ourselves and being alumni ourselves. Through that initiative, we got incredible traction. We got, as I said, we've got quite a few downloads over the last less than 10 days now. So that seemed to work. now the third problem that stands in front of us is how do we maintain a consistent usage of the app? It's not just about downloading the app, it's also about usage of the app. That is something we're considering and keeping on working on. It's the problem we're currently facing, as they say. We have discussed ways such as putting push notifications that kind of remind the customer. We have talked about ways in which we could perhaps market more towards using it rather than just downloading it. But that's kind of the third phase after we've got a decent number of downloads, which now we are coming close to. So now once we reach that target that we had decided, we can move on to actually focusing on usage, regular usage.
I see. So we talk about the current situation of Coubon. So I just wondering, in the future, what is Coubon's strategic direction? And also, could you share some of the key goals Coubon aims to achieve in the coming years?
Sure. In the year to come, we are looking to grow across the east coast of Canada. We've already got a team in Montreal, and perhaps even places like Waterloo, we are looking into it. They seem like lucrative opportunities. And particularly if we focus on Montreal its construct is quite similar to Toronto in terms of its infrastructure, which is a very walking friendly infrastructure in terms of its student body. In between McGill University, University of Montreal, two of the largest top 10 universities in Canada reside in Montreal, just like York and UFT reside in Toronto. So it's quite similar in that sense. That's one place we're pursuing with great intent, and we should, fingers crossed, launch then start operations come January. So that's that. Then we'd like to shift our focus to the West Coast, targeting in particular Vancouver. We went and did some ground study in Edmonton and Calgary, and one issue we found was it's not a walking city as Toronto and Montreal are. It's more of a city where one takes out their car and drives to a certain place to find restaurants. And in our current discounts that we have, I don't think that would align well with actually taking out the car, going through all that effort, because most of the discounts right now, although they are of great percentage, 20%, 30%, they still wouldn't perhaps warrant a person to get out of bed, sit in a car, go particularly to a place to eat. So that's something we'll revisit perhaps next year and see whether that aligns with the model then, or how we can kind of tweak our model for those two cities to kind of benefit the people there too. And then perhaps, US, we have already some of the chains such as Jerk King, which we have. It's a chain in Toronto, but it also has some restaurants in the US. I've been talking to a few institutions in the US as well, and we're exploring ways to get into the US, the cities bordering Canada. So we are looking at that, and let's see where that goes. Those are still in the very early stages to make a serious comment there.
Impressive. It's a very nice strategy for the company, but also based on that, we're just wondering about the resources and capabilities as well. So I just wondering, where did you guys raise the funding at the beginning, and to support your future strategy, how do you guys want to finance the expansion maybe?
Right. Since the beginning, it has always been investors, right? The first pre-seed round, as they say, we got when we were just launching back in December was from friends, right? In return of equity. In June, we got our seed round of funding, which was a first third-party investment. It was made by 5 investors from different countries, all very distinguished in their fields. And they continue to act as the guiding lights, helping us, excel. And we envision having our next funding round next summer, so summer of 24. And then let's see, perhaps these investors increase their investment amount, or the new investors. I already have a few people who have expressed interest in investing in us, all third party, and I'm not talking friends and family, people who are seasoned angel investors or venture capitalists. So, discussing with them. So, if I'm sure we'll get a good deal next year too. And that's what's been, funding us and giving us the cash runway.
Yeah, of course. And also about the constraints, we're just wondering what are the primary constraints Coubon are currently facing, and are there any regulation or policies that would impact Coubon's operations?
Right. I think both me and Rick can answer this. Rick, if you can answer the tech side of it, and then I'll talk about the overall holistic constraints that we face. I can go first if you want the time to think.
There is no constraint or regulation in terms of like constraints from law or like regulation by the government or something like that at the moment, because since we are not really huge at the moment, we don't have much regulation on ourselves in terms, at least in terms of tech.
Okay.
Right. Okay. From the holistic way, then the constraints we may face in terms of regulations as well, I don't think there are many. In terms of expanding to Montreal, for example, it's not really a regulation, but because French is quite widely spoken there, we are looking to incorporate French in the app to help our users in Montreal to use it better, and just for convenience sake. But in terms of regulations, we don't see any hindrance as such. In terms of employees and all as well, there's no constraint. I think the Canadian system is very fair and very supportive of businesses on the most part, of what we have discovered till now.
Yeah, okay. Great to know that. And now we basically already asked all the questions we have for now, and we're preparing the phase 1 of the project. And do you guys have any questions for us?
I don't have any questions as such, but if you guys could be kind enough to share the link of the recording as well, and if you don't mind, we could put some snippets of it on our social media as well.
Yes, of course, will do.
Thank you. Rick, do you have any questions?
No. Thank you for the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you for attending as well. So if you guys need anything, or do you have any expectation for our group, just feel free to reach out, and we will do our best to cope with you.
Sure. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so thank you for attending, and wish you guys have a great day. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Take care.
thank you. Take care.
我笑死了。